Welcome to the Filmographers podcast. I'm Keir Graff, and in the latest installment of the Filmographers Go to the Movies, we are going to discuss HoneyDon't, the second of three promised lesbian B movies from Ethan Coen and Trisha Cook.
I'm Michael Moreci, and before we get to our review of that movie, we're going to talk a little bit about Season 2. We're not quite ready to announce the director we'll be studying, but we will tell you when we will be doing that.
We're also going to share our full Season 2 rollout schedule and a little bit about what to expect once it's underway.
We've had so many people share really interesting suggestions for our next director, including some who are absolutely season worthy, such as, this is one suggestion we actually received, Howard Hawks.
Such a great director, so many films, so many that I feel myself aging just thinking about covering his 50 plus movies one at a time. I feel like Dave at the end of 2001, watching myself leap forward in time until I'm an old man, Mike.
Yes, I think that would actually be very much like that experience of covering Hawks. And I mean, look, we just finished our first season covering Steven Soderbergh, who directed 36 films. It was a big undertaking. It was a big season, especially since it was our first.
And 37 films if you count Che as two movies, as Soderbergh did, and 38 if you count the Yes concert film. Yes, the point being that we're not averse to tackling directors with long filmographies.
Yeah, and we love Hawks. We really do. I mean, Rio Bravo, Scarface, Only Angels Have Wings, The Big Sleep, Bringing Up Baby. I was going to say The Big Baby. The Big Sleep.
That one was unreleased.
Yes. But look, we could be here all day naming Howard Hawks movies and even movies he didn't make, apparently, which is why, covering his entire filmography, just listing it would take all day. Covering it would take a lifetime and a half.
Before we reveal any more directors we didn't choose, listeners, please join our Patreon community. When we do kick off Season 2, not only will you find all our new episodes there, but you'll also find exclusive episodes and extras that will not be available anywhere else.
We are really stepping up our Patreon game for the upcoming season, like big time. The Patreon exclusive episodes that Keir mentioned will deepen your journey into the life and career of the director we'll be covering. If you want the complete story of this mystery director, you're going to want to join us on Patreon. We'll also be sharing episode scripts, extended episodes, and the opportunity to talk with us about movies.
You can join for free, or even better, you can contribute a small monthly amount. We'd appreciate it. And if you choose to contribute a small monthly amount, we will reward you with either a Filmographer's coffee mug or a sticker, and we're hoping to cook up some other cool merch throughout the course of the season.
Absolutely. And we'd like to thank our newest members, Alex, Lynn, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Neva.
Most likely Neva.
Neva? Okay, good. That's why I was hoping. That's what I thought. So Neva, all three of you guys, thank you very much. We appreciate you. If you're listening and excited to go along for the ride of Season 2, everyone else, join these fine folks at patreon.com/the Filmographers podcast. That's patreon.com/the Filmographers podcast.
Now, back to directors we didn't choose, like Michael Mann.
Oh, man, Keir, that one hurts, I admit, because like any damaged male who secretly wants to rob banks, I adore Michael Mann.
It's a lot of money. What are you doing? What do you mean, forget the money?
What am I doing? I'm talking to an empty telephone.
I don't understand.
Because there was a dead man on the other end of this fucking line.
Who doesn't adore Michael Mann? But boy, have Michael Mann's life and career been covered. And recovered and covered again. There are whole podcasts devoted to Michael Mann already. We like to find directors that allow us to do a little more exploration of our own.
So, if I'm reading you right, Keir, what you're saying is that our director is one who falls a bit outside of your typical auteur discourse. Is that safe to say?
I think it's safe to say our director is indeed a household name, but not someone who has a million YouTube videos breaking down their scenes shot by shot.
Well, I guess we can confidently cross Fincher off our list.
Yes, we can. But then who can it be?
Put the gun down.
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, David.
It seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's in
gun.
the fucking box?
Give me the gun.
To recap, in season 2, we won't be covering Howard Hawks, we won't be covering Michael Mann or David Fincher, or any auteur who's generally part of the contemporary cinephiles' capital D discourse. I, for one, am intrigued by who this mystery director can be.
Hopefully our listeners are too. Do you have a guess? Ideas for future seasons? We've made our choice for season 2, but we'll hear you out for season 3. Send us a line. You can reach us at the Filmographers podcast at gmail.com. We would definitely love to hear from you. But send your guesses soon because we are revealing our choice just a few weeks from now.
We did say we'd tell listeners when, didn't we? So, Keir, when will we be announcing the director will be covering one movie at a time for season 2 of the Filmographers podcast?
We will be releasing our big reveal episode on September 9th. Yes, in less than 1 month, you'll know whose life and career we've chosen to examine.
And once the announcement has been made, we're going to be hitting the ground running. Our first episode will be on September 16th. Actually, make that our first 2 episodes. We'll be releasing both our season 2 premiere and our first season 2 Patreon exclusive on the very same day.
And then on September 30th, we'll release episode 2, making for a very full September. But we are making a few changes to our format. First of all, to help make every episode the best it can possibly be and to avoid overloading your ears, we'll be releasing our main episodes every 2 weeks this season instead of every week.
We'll also be scaling back on reviews of new movies and director interviews. Look, we love doing both of those, but based on listener response, what you all love most and what we love most, to be honest, are the episodes examining films by the director we're studying.
You listen and we listen.
Just like we listened, for example, to Patreon subscriber Mark Stevens, who's been eager for season 2 to begin. Well, Mark, we're back. The movies are back.
We come to this place for magic.
Oh God, what are we doing?
Damn it. I'm going to blame producer Kevin snuck that in there. I'm going to blame him.
Kevin!
Throw him right under the bus.
I guess it makes for a good transition, though, to the thing we really came here to talk about, HoneyDon't. We come to this place for magic and for discussion of HoneyDon't.
Yes, HoneyDon't, the latest from director Ethan Coen and screenwriter Trisha Cook, who also collaborate on 2024's Drive Away Dolls. Like Drive Away Dolls, HoneyDon't stars Margaret Qualley, who plays Honey O'Donoghue, a California PI trying to solve a lot of things, I guess. We'll get to that. Rounding out the cast is Aubrey Plaza, who's always a delight to see. She plays MG, a police officer, and Charlie Day, who also plays a cop named Marty, and to be frank, kind of steals the show. Chris Evans plays the shady Reverend Drew Devlin, and Billy Eichner drops in to play one of Holly's clients.
Don't forget the cameo from Josh Pafchek, who I could have sworn played one of the rug pissers in The Big Lebowski. I went down the IMDb rabbit hole, and it turns out that was a guy named Mark Pellegrino. Separated at birth, I say.
I suppose so. I didn't pick that up. I did not notice at all, but good eye here. IMDb describes the plot of HoneyDon't like this. A dark comedy about Honey O'Donoghue, a small-time private investigator who delves into a series of strange deaths tied to a mysterious church. Which, okay, I guess. Close enough. I don't know.
Yeah. HoneyDon't is the second in Coen's and Cook's lesbian B-movie trilogy, and those are Cook's words, not mine, but it's certainly accurate. I mean, we could nitpick whether it's possible to make a modern B-movie on purpose, but we'll just say, okay, that's the style they're going for. And truth in advertising, these movies are absolutely packed with lesbians. At least,
yes.
Or actors playing lesbians. if not actual lesbians.
Yes, and it's worth pointing out that Cook is a lesbian herself, even if she is married to Ethan Coen. She's publicly said she has other partners, as does Ethan. So they have their own thing going on.
They seem very happy, and more power to them. As for Cook's trilogy, she describes the third and final film to be released, and it's titled Go Beavers, as a story about, quote, a crew team who gets together for their reunion and they start dying off one by one, end quote. Qualley, in an interview with NBC, said, I have not read a script and I haven't been contacted, but let the record show that if I'm not in the third film, I will be offended and I will be upset.
Okay. Okay. Okay,
We'll
Margaret.
definitely talk about Qualley and her acting in these movies. But I do want to point out that this is the third Coen movie that is only providing us with a single Coen. The two went their separate ways a few years ago, and since then, Ethan has made 2 movies in this lesbian trilogy, and Joel Coen made The Tragedy of Macbeth, which was absolutely outstanding.
Oh, dude. So good. Unforgettable performances by Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. And that's saying a lot because they are both in a category reserved for the best of the best of the best. They're just outstanding. But getting back to the Coens, plural Coens, the brothers haven't made anything since their 2018 movie, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Discussing the split, they said it was because Ethan just didn't want to make movies anymore, which is ironic because he's made twice as many as Joel since they broke up. But back in 2020, or maybe even earlier, can't really say for sure, Joel was eager to make Macbeth and Ethan just apparently wasn't feeling it. So for the first time, Joel decided to go solo. Carter Burwell, the composer of many Coen brother movies, starting all the way back with their first one, Blood Simple, and ending, at least for now, hopefully, with their last, Buster Scruggs, says the split was amicable. In an interview he did with Score Podcast, he said, quote, Ethan just didn't want to make movies anymore. Ethan seems very happy doing what he's doing, and I'm not sure what Joel will do after this. They also have a ton of scripts they've written together that are sitting on various shelves. I hope maybe they get back to those. I've read some of them, and they're great. We are all at an age where we just don't know. We could all retire. It's a wonderfully unpredictable business, end quote.
A ton of Coen scripts just sitting on a shelf somewhere. They had better not end up in the warehouse with the Ark of the Covenant. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I mean, I believe it. That's what the man says. That's what Burwell says. I have no reason to think he's lying. And one of those scripts apparently, oh man, hold on to your butt, Keir. It's a sequel to one of your favorites, Old Think, which of course is a continuation of, like I said, one of your favorites, hell, one of my favorites, Barton Fink.
Oh my God. Don't tease me, Moreci. What I would give to see Old Fink. It might be a body part.
I know. It hurts. It hurts me too, man. I just can't believe that's, everyone's still, Turturro's still around. Goodman's still around. I mean, that's a movie that could still be made. I wish. Well,
reading about Ethan during this time, he also seems, burned out by the movie industry. In an interview he did with NME, he expressed his frustrations with streaming and the movie business in general. He also has other interests like working in theater, working on documentaries. He directed Trouble in Mind, the Jerry Lee Lewis doc from 2022, and he even writes short fiction.
And yet, Keir, here he is directing movies, 2 of them, with a third, as you said, apparently to follow. So, Keir, I throw the question to you. What gives?
Well, it would be a very un-Coen-esque thing for either of them to give a straight answer about anything. I mean, go watch A Serious Man if you haven't already seen it for evidence of the mysterious ways in which the Coens work.
And that actually, I feel like you say any Coens movie, especially for you and I, we both love them. You can throw out any title and we'd say, oh, one of my favorite Coen movies, maybe not Oh Brother Where Art Thou. That's not one of my favorites, but all the rest, I think we both say that's one of our favorites because they all are. But I think A Serious Man might genuinely be a top tier Coen for me. I mean, just
fascinating.
I'm sure you've seen it. What's that?
Fascinating.
I just love it. It's so weird, and so it just I feel like it encapsulates all of their ideas and philosophies into just this wonderful package. And just in the scene alone, the famous "Look at the parking lot, Larry."
This is life. You have to see these things as expressions of God's will. You don't have to like it, of course.
The boss isn't always right, but he's always the boss.
That's right. Things aren't so bad. Look at the parking lot, Larry. Just look at that parking lot.
The most straightforward answer that I was able to find, though, is kind of simple. He got bored during the pandemic. He made the Jerry Lee Lewis documentary, which he described as a gateway drug, and before he knew it, he was back making movies. It seems to help that he was collaborating with his wife. He describes the making of Drive-Away Dolls as being, making filmmaking fun again. And according to him, the last two movies he made with Joel were very difficult in terms of production, with their last movie being a straight-to-streaming film for Netflix, something he doesn't seem all that thrilled about. So, a collaboration with his wife, a theatrical release, a smaller scale film, and it was all enough to get him back in the game.
That's interesting. Let's talk about his most recent comeback movie, HoneyDon't. Keir, a Coen movie will never be the same without the both of the brothers involved. We know this. But is half a Coen still good Coen? Did you enjoy HoneyDon't?
Well, let me start by saying I liked Drive-Away Dolls quite a bit. I know you didn't like that one very much, but I went into it not knowing what to expect, and you found it to be enjoyable. Not a great movie, but enjoyable. It was zany, it was unexpected, it was fun, and it seemed like everyone in it knew what they were doing. Qualley was pulling a bit of a Daniel Craig with a hilariously broad accent. It had a MacGuffin, a briefcase full of plaster-casted penises that was well suited to its subject matter, let's say. And
Sure
so
did.
because of that, okay. It's Lou Berney wrote a novel in which the MacGuffin was a briefcase full of foreskins. Maybe that'd be a great double feature if they ever filmed that one.
Huh. I think we talked about that. I think you told me about that once, and I was like, that's very weird. Very weird, similar MacGuffins. One is probably two like that is okay.
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. And while I was predisposed to like HoneyDon't just as much, I don't think it worked as well. It has some striking moments and some solid laughs, but the moments just don't cohere into something that works from beginning to end. Honey O'Donoghue is a deadpan, sexy lesbian PI who gets a call from a woman who fears for her life. And when that woman dies in a suspicious car accident before their appointment, Honey starts to investigate. And it seems to lead her toward a hinky church led by a sex-crazed, drug-dealing reverend played by Chris Evans. But then Honey's niece goes missing, and then her third date with a cop played by Aubrey Plaza takes a little bit of a turn. I think my two main criticisms are the plot and the tone. The plot does almost feel like a Coen Brothers in-joke in that it just absolutely refuses to do anything as obvious as showing a sleuth solving a mystery. But Coen Brothers movies still almost always deliver a satisfying resolution, even if the plot doesn't do the obvious thing. This one feels like it takes 3 left turns and then pulls over to park on a random side street. And the tone here is just, well, it doesn't work. B-movies are fun, two-dimensional, and treat everything with broad strokes. And while there is, explicit sex here and gratuitous violence, there are also these moments where I think, dare I say it, we're supposed to think or feel something, and they just don't work together. It blips from broad comedy to sweaty sex to cartoonish violence, and then we have these lingering shots of Honey worrying about her niece set to some moody Carter Burwell score. And it's beautiful music, but it feels out of place in this movie. And yes, they do shoehorn a bit of a message into an over-the-top fight to the death, but it kind of undercuts the message when you're also trying to get laughs and gasps for the way you kill the person delivering the message. And speaking of Honey, I think my third big criticism is the character, and my fourth big criticism is the casting. But before we get to that, Mike, did you enjoy it?
I agree with everything you're saying, and maybe our criticisms are the same, because as you were talking, and as I was thinking about this earlier today and a little bit last night, what you had said about tone, I had another word in mind, and maybe we are talking about the same thing ultimately, but I'm thinking about identity.
Mm.
And I'm trying to wonder what the hell Honey Don't is trying to be. Like, it sucks, man. Like it's hard, and I'm sure maybe Ethan Coen and Trisha Cook feel this as well. That like they're being the yardstick is a Coen brother movie, and they're not making a Coen brother movie, so like they have this weird, difficult relationship where they're going to be compared inevitably to Coen brother movies, and the Coens have a lifetime of absolute all time great movies, right? So it's a little unfair to have this comparison. But at the same time, I would probably feel this way even if those movies didn't exist, I guess. It's hard to say, but like those movies, the Coen brothers always had an identity of like what they're trying to say. And like you said, the tone in which they're deploying, and all the actors are all on the same page, and they all know what movie that they're in. And the Coens were, masterful at casting the right people and getting the right performances to nail they have a certain pitch. They're operating at a wavelength that is totally their own, you can't replicate it. People have tried, not many, because you don't even bother. Why would you? Because it's just so hard. But like, what happens in Honey Don't is just like, I don't know what this movie is trying to be. Like, it feels like everything you said. So you have this PI who's really not solving cases. And she also doesn't have much of an interior life to speak of. There's no real, I don't feel like I walked out of this movie knowing, Honey O'Donoghue, Margaret Qualley's character any better than I did when I started the movie. So you have this weird thing. It's like, well, you don't get anything from her personal life. You don't really get anything from her professional life. So you have a character at the core of all of this who's basically a cipher, and it makes it really hard to understand what you're supposed to care about, like think of the idea of like getting back to the identity of it. Like, maybe it's trying to go for being like a hangout movie, I feel like. So, okay, so if you move the elements of plot, right? If you're going to say like, well, the investigation's really not that big of a deal, and it goes kind of out of its way, even like, and I'm not going to spoil anything specifically, but with the church doesn't end up being really what you think it is. And it's like everything else in the movie, they kind of just keep saying like, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're going to make a hangout movie, like, hey, we mentioned Howard Hawks earlier, right? Only Angels Have Wings, Rio Bravo, two of the all-time great hangout movies. Interesting locales, great, fascinating, fun characters. You absolutely, those are requirements, And besides Charlie Day, who's just basically playing Charlie Day, and here's the thing. This is probably the last thing I'll say, in the Coen brother comparison. Coen brothers the movies always felt like they have zeal. Like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Burn After Reading, Raising Arizona. They just have this like intense pace that is just a rocket ship of a pace, because everything's fired. The plot, the story, the characters, the performances, it's all firing on all cylinders. And those movies just zoom. Even when they, you know what I mean? Like, Honey Don't was boring. Like, there was a lot of this movie where I'm like, what are we doing here? Why are we? And it's 90 minutes. I think it's like 86 minutes. And it's
less than 90 minutes. Yeah. And zeal is the perfect word. I love that. Zeal is a great word. Like zesty enterprise. Zeal is not a word often used in film criticism, but like the Coen brothers, one did always feel like they have a zeal for their work. And you make an excellent point that, there's some unfair comparisons just to say like, okay, now here's one Coen in another partnership, and we shouldn't compare it necessarily to the first partnership, but I'm sorry, it sucks. You made a ton of great films. You are going to be compared to your body of work. Yeah. And you're also absolutely right. Like, the pacing was a problem. This is less than 90 minutes. And it was a little boring at times. I got bored at times. And it felt like it should have been 70 minutes or 75 minutes or something. It just, which I would have made it a true B movie, I guess. It just, the cuts weren't fast enough. It wasn't zippy enough. Talking about Charlie Day, one of the successful callbacks in the movie. And this is just a little throwaway bit, but one of the things I did enjoy most is he's continually trying to hit on Honey. She's a strong personality. She's always telling him, like, I can't remember his character name, Marty or something, like, look, I like girls. And he just always says, you always say that. And it's very funny because it's like this character who's just like, it's beyond his worldview that a woman could like other women. And he's just like, you're just, you kid her, you cut up. And
yeah.
And they use it 2 or 3 times. They pull it off. It's funny. It's such an infinitesimally small part of the movie. There's not enough like that at all. And you talked about the character. I think Honey's kind of a cipher. Like, I don't really get, you think about a PI. Okay, you're making a B movie. Maybe they didn't set out to make an all-time great PI character, but I'm sorry, if you have a PI character, we expect them to be memorable, no matter what. Think about Elliot Gould in The Long Goodbye feeding his cats, and like that tells you everything about his character in the very beginning. They kind of tried a version of that here, where Honey visits her sister, who's got more kids than she knows what to do with, and she's trying to get her kids, her sister's kids, to eat vegetables. It didn't fit with the character because Honey, also talks about how much she likes to drink and she's really horny. She loves to have sex and sex with no strings. So it didn't fit, or it didn't seem like an interesting enough quirk. It just seemed like they were trying to find some character. A PI's home or office can be a source of great character. It didn't really pull that off. I just felt like, honestly, the real star, and this seems like a lame, cheap shot, but honestly, the star of Honey's character was her wardrobe. I mean, whoever dressed her, like, it was phenomenal clothing, amazing cuts, like gorgeous wardrobe. So she's a sharp dresser in a sweaty town and she never has a drop of sweat. Okay, whatever. But I don't know who she was. As you say, I watched the movie and I have no strong sense of what the character of Honey O'Donoghue, really is supposed to be, other than a lady who likes to, have sex.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that I can look at the movie and count on 2 hands scenes that just didn't do anything, that didn't go anywhere, that I don't know why they were here. I mean, it walks this weird line between, like, there's not enough content, there's not enough going on, there's not enough purpose, but also, like, it feels like a season of TV smushed into like 86 minutes, because like you have all these like things that they bring up, like you said, like her relationship with her sister, and her sister's got all these kids. Her dad pops up for like this complete, like, I get the purpose of that scene. It's like, oh, what happens to people who are abused? And it is a look, I'm not trying to diminish that as the point of that, and I'm not diminishing that at all. But as a narrative purpose, like, it's also just kind of so cavalierly dealt with that it just floats in and out, and it kind of, they try to like tie that knot at the end, and by that point you're like, I guess, but like the dad shows up for this scene that, like, in maybe a season of television, you flesh that out. Maybe there's more to his relationship with the sister. Maybe the Reverend becomes more interesting over a season, but instead it's like just kind of smashed in, and like a lot of inference is supposed to be drawn from what we're given, which is, again, not a whole lot, like the last thing I'll say, you mentioned her assistant, like that didn't work at all. Like in a Coen brother movie, like that relationship with her assistant or secretary, whatever it is, would have been fun and cool. And they would have like great, like these little rat-tat-tat back and forth. But here, there's just nothing to it. They just couldn't seem to be able to find like character, like tone, character. It's really absent in this movie. I'm surprised. I guess that's what the inevitable comparison. And again, it's maybe it's unfair, but I guess that's so surprising that masters of tone, masters of character, not just character of the people in the movie, but the character of the film, the tangible feeling. Like Raising Arizona has a specific character that's very different from the character of Blood Simple. Both those movies have very unique, different voices and characters and intent. So from Ethan Coen, who's at least half of the Coen brother, duo, such masters of this to fail it so completely, to have it be so absent is really surprising to me. Really, really surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dig into the casting just a little bit more. You talked about Honey O'Donoghue's assistant is played by an actor named Gabby Beans, who I thought like actually kind of had interesting presence, but she didn't. It was a thankless role. There was nothing written for her to do. Like I would like to see her do something where she has an opportunity to sink her teeth into it. She had a fair amount of screen time, but as you say, their interactions were just very flat and really disappointing. I thought, Billy Eichner, another small role. Like when you cast somebody as recognizable and as known as Billy Eichner, you need to deliver something with it, and didn't work. Didn't work for me.
You can count hundreds of small roles. Shit, as we covered in Steven Soderbergh's filmography, Matt Damon alone is responsible for like dozens of these small roles that like he just pops in and is really, really memorable in one way or another. And film history is littered with these like little small roles that somebody that that's recognizable pops into and makes it really memorable and makes it really interesting. And Billy Eichner, who's usually funny and has a great personality, like I don't remember a single thing that he did in this. He wiped down the chair because he was like COVID, and it was just okay.
When he walks into the office and he wipes down the chair with a wipe, and there's this kind of like uncomfortable pause, that felt very Coen Brothers. And I was like, okay, I was kind of rubbing my hands like, oh, what's going to happen next? And then that was the last funny thing his character did, is just his character's, he's sort of related in that, he wants to hire Honey to surveil his cheating boyfriend, and the cheating boyfriend plays a minor role in something that leads to another string of random events. But like his whole reason for being there was like, she tells him you don't want to know the truth, and he says he does, and then she shows him the pictures and he's upset, and it just, but not memorably upset or fun, humorously enough. I don't know, that's probably more time than these little roles deserve.
You just made me think of that scene, which I thought was so incredibly flat. Like, so he comes in and he's like, I want to find, I think my boyfriend's cheating on me. And she's like, And he's like, I want to know. And she's like, no, if you suspect, And they go back and forth like that for like a minute, and it's really doesn't really go anywhere. And then she's like, okay, I'll do it. And it reminds me almost of The Nice Guys, that scene where Ryan Gosling's being hired by the old woman. She's like, my husband has been missing. And she's like, he's like, when was the last time you saw him? He's like, I haven't seen him since the funeral. And he looks, and there's the urn, and he's like, okay, where can I start?
That's actually like a Coen Brothers worthy scene. I mean,
it
in
is.
The Nice Guys.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah, it's just like an unexpected, and the protagonist is like just along on the wave of like, screw it, this is preposterous and silly and goofy, but okay. But
I need the money.
Yeah, and what he's asking isn't preposterous and isn't silly, and it's not over the top. It's just kind of mundane and really pedestrian and kind of boring, that like, and then she acquiesces to it, and we feel the same acquiescence where we're like, okay, I guess there's really nothing interesting here.
I think that part of my problem too was just I think Chris Evans was another role that it was very one note. Like we've all seen The Hypocritical Reverend, and he didn't do anything unusual with it. He played it with zeal and zest, but there was nothing new about it, and I just got a little tired of it. And I also think Margaret Qualley, I mean, I like her in other movies, and I think she can do interesting things, but I found her very uninteresting here. And again, maybe some of it's the role, but I do think that there are probably other actors who could have done something with this. Like I was kind of thinking about like alternate casting, and I was like, well, who could have done this and made it a little more interesting? And I was like, well, like maybe like Laura Dern or Ellen Barkin back in their day, somebody just with a little something else off kilter, or a little something twinkle in their eye or something. Qualley plays it just very straight and very one note. And I was like, maybe even like Jennifer Lawrence, or I would love to see like a Kate Winslet take on this role, if like my dream casting. I just didn't see anything else. I clearly Quali like threw herself into the role. She enjoys it. She's got screen presence. There's no question there. But ultimately, as you say, there's problems with the script and the story, but I also think that the casting didn't rise to the level of the occasion.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to really reckon with that because, man, and I feel bad saying this, but I do think it's a very weak script. So I don't know where the bad script begins and the bad performances end, or vice versa. I do have questions, to play a Coen brother character, man, it really takes not everyone can do it. Not everyone can do it. And we've seen the performers who have thrown themselves into the role of a Coen brother character and have done great things with it. I mean, George Clooney, Nicolas Cage, Brad Pitt, Frances McDormand, over and over and over, like a new character every single time she did it. She reinvented her character every single time. There's so many iconic Richard Kind, like there's just so many that are just so great and so iconic. And in Drive Away Dolls, I feel like they were more trying to be a Coen brother movie. And I'm sorry, I like Margaret Qualley a lot. I think she is very talented. I think she's had terrific performances. But I also think that Drive Away Dolls, she wasn't great. I felt like it was a try hard performance,
Mm-hmm.
And then this one is a not trying hard enough performance. I wonder, and this had nothing to do with her ability, but just I wonder if she can carry a Coen brother movie or Coen movie, because like I said, it just takes a certain type of performance and personality to really, really get into those scripts and make them work.
Well, and it's kind of ironic because now Ethan Coen has a woman, writing partner on this movie. And so in theory, the female role should be stronger and more nuanced, or just more, I don't know what, but like it ends up being flatter. And maybe it's just because Trisha Cook is just not as experienced a writer. I don't honestly know what she's done before these two movies. So maybe she's done a ton and I'm unaware of it. But
I don't think there's much, if I'm not mistaken, if anything at all. Because she was an editor, I believe, prior. I
think that rings a bell.
She was an assistant editor on one of their films. Gosh, it might have been Miller's Crossing. I forget which film it was. And that's where they met. So she might have written stuff. I don't know her exact, biography. But I know it's not, in terms of writing, I know it's not a ton of stuff.
What do you think about all the sex in this movie? Because there's a lot.
There is a lot. It's tough because, man, I don't know how to frame this where I don't come off as sounding like a dude bro. But if you would have told me going into this, like, man, there's going to be some hot, Aubrey Plaza and Margaret Qualley full sex scenes, I would have said, great. And there were, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling that for anybody, but there were. And I was at that point just kind of so, uninvolved with the movie that the sex scenes, I just found them kind of boring. And I was like, okay, they were fine. I wasn't engaged with them. They fell into the same bucket as the rest of the film. Like I just passively watched what was going on, and the next scenes played, and I was like ready to move on and ready to get through it, more or less. And it's a little bit of a bummer, I'll admit. How about you?
Well, I certainly do like movies that show characters enjoying mutually enjoyable.
Do you like sex, Mr. Lebowski?
Excuse me?
Sex, the physical act of love, coitus. Do you like it?
I was talking about my rug.
And look, these are beautiful women. And I never would have thought that I would sit there in a theater watching something like that without feeling turned on. But like you, I guess I was so kind of puzzled by the different choices in the movie and somewhat bored by the plot that I failed to find it erotic. And like, I never thought I would be saying such a thing. And I think I texted something to this point to you after I walked out of the theater, but here we are.
Yeah, I would not have this. I would not have this on my predictions for this movie. Bored by Aubrey Plaza, Margaret Qualley, intimacy scene.
And hey, listeners, you know, your mileage may vary. I mean, there's those aren't the only sex scenes. I'm just saying there's a lot of zesty enterprise in this film, and some people may enjoy that. Yeah, for some reason, maybe I'm just I don't know what. Like it's maybe it's a sad state on me that I'm like too bummed out by the film to enjoy something that could have been more enjoyable, but didn't work for me. But it is striking in an era where there's not, I mean, I don't know, I guess like explicit nudity and stuff does seem to be kind of making a comeback in some ways, but even for that, there's a striking amount of it, but they're making a B movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is coming back. And like, look, I'm certainly not taking the uptight conservative role. I'm sure there'll be some responses where it's like, you don't even need those scenes. Like, it's like, I guess, like, I'm not saying they were needed. But I do think, I have no puritanical views on sex or sex in movies. And you don't either. But like in this case, they were just kind of uninteresting to me. But they are, look, like you said, there's a few scenes and I was like, oh, dang, there's some, okay.
Oh, dang. Yes.
But I guess one more question for you, Keir. And I know this was inevitable that one of us would ask each other this, but like the Coen brothers, is the whole greater than the sum of its parts? Can either of them find the magic working on their own?
Wow. Like so many creative partnerships, the whole may indeed be greater than the sum of its parts. And I wonder if the quintessential comic tone of the Coens can be found by either of them working solo. I do think, based on I think Tragedy of Macbeth is very nearly a masterpiece, if not one. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think that Joel working solo has the ability to make a classic dramatic film. I think that's been proven. Based on the evidence before us, I have to say, I don't think that either of them working solo can give us anything that like approaches the buffoonery of Raising Arizona and Oh Brother and even Hail Caesar, where the tone just feels so assured and you never wonder what they're going for. And you just know you're in steady hands. Forgive me, but based on the evidence before us, which is admittedly a small data set of 3 films, I'm beginning to wonder whether Joel is the more talented one.
Ooh, ouch. I'm with you. I mean, I'd like to see, I guess the biggest evidence would be if Joel tries to make a Coen movie, because Macbeth is very an un-Coen movie. In some ways, I mean, like, some of their movies are Shakespearean. Like they do have a penchant, like we were talking about with Serious Man, for irony and for tragedy. They absolutely, who doesn't exist? I guess you can say almost anything Shakespearean, because that's the shadow Shakespeare cast. But I think there is some true parallels there. Can Joel do a Coen movie? Can he do his own Hail Caesar, which, by the way, I think is brilliant. I love Hail Caesar. I know I'm one of the only ones. It's tough to say. I think that would be really when you see the jury is really out. I don't know if he ever will. I don't know.
Does he want to? I guess.
Does he want to? Yeah. I mean, he has a movie coming out. I forget what it's called. It's a PI movie, ironically, but I can't remember the title of it. It's very much an early production, so who knows when, if, how that will happen. But that'll be the true test if that happens. Like, who's who can nail the Coen tone more? And I don't know. I really don't know. I'd be interested to see. What I'd be most interested in seeing, Keir, is them reuniting.
Amen. Because, regardless of whether either one of them is more talented than the other or whatever, obviously together, let the record show that when they work together, great things happen.
And it seemed real. It seemed like us. And it seemed like, well, our home. If not Arizona, then a land not too far away. where all parents are strong and wise and capable, and all children are happy and beloved. I don't know. Maybe it was Utah.
As we said at the top of the show, we are rounding third base in our preparations for season 2, and you're not going to want to miss a thing. Join our Patreon, and you won't. There you'll find all our episodes and content you won't find anywhere else. We're at patreon.com/The Filmographers Podcast.
And like I said, we're upping our Patreon game for season 2, and you're not going to want to miss a thing that we have in store. And it's just a great way to support the work that we've done here on the Filmographers. You can join our community for free. Just be sure to join. Although, the paid tiers are we really appreciate that. They're
We
better.
certainly do.
Yeah, and you get free stuff. We give you the mug, the sticker, and there's stuff that, the paid tiers offer that even the free tier won't. We still appreciate people who join, but please take a look at those paid tiers. Think about the many hours of work that we've, put into this podcast and decide accordingly. But anyway, find us again, like Keir said, patreon.com/Filmographers Podcast.
The next time you hear from us will be when we reveal our director for season 2, and we cannot wait to share that news with you. We've got a terrific and fascinating season ahead of us. Get ready for more history, more Hollywood lore, and more explorations into the movies you love and the lives of the people who make them.
Thanks as always to Kevin Lau, our producer, Gompson, who composed and played our theme music, and Cosmo Graff, who designed our logo and our merch. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you in season 2.